Yo, welcome back to My City Podcast, episode 52. As always, love for the love and all our past episodes. You got your boy Sam, you got your boy Ire. How you doing, bro?
I'm good, man. How you doing? You good?
All good, bro. Happy Sunday, Kike. We've got the beautiful Kike from BYP on the pod today.
Hi, everyone. I am good, as good as I can be.
Love for jumping on. Kike is the CEO and founder. Kike is the CEO and founder of BYP. Do you want to quickly give them a briefing who you are?
Yeah, sure. So BYP Network is a platform that connects Black professionals with each other and corporations. We have about 40,000 members, and we work with the likes of PwC, Facebook, Accenture, etc. Our whole mission is to change the Black narrative, and that just involves connecting Black professionals in any way to opportunities. So that includes jobs, events, leadership development, and we also have an app, so people can download the app and connect there. We're kind of dubbed like the Black LinkedIn.
Love that.
Yeah, I guess we'll expand more on the BYP and everything moving during the podcast. If you haven't already, tune into episode 51. We had our boy Teo Dion to talk about all things black hair and keeping Black people well groomed during this corona pandemic. We also spoke about different topics such as can you be pro-Black and have a white partner, and what pro-Blackness actually means in general. I know we're seeing a lot of commentary at the moment on the timeline, and so we decided to talk about what we're seeing, the kind of brutality we're seeing and the rioting and so on. So we spoke about that in episode 51. In episode 52, I guess, Sam, you can let people know what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah. It would also be good at some point to get a female perspective. I saw Kike smile when we talked about the...
Nah,
when we said the pro-Black thing. So we made a smooth segue into that. But the main thing today is we're looking back on the job market. We're looking at earning your bread during COVID. What different industries are saying. Kike is going to talk about what BYP is doing to help our communities, and just what future outlooks for the next year and beyond will look like. Cool. So if we get don't you?
Perfect. So I guess if you want to go through what is BYP, what does it stand for, and what is it?
So BYP, it actually stands for Black Young Professionals Network, but I feel like we've been feeling like that name might have to change, or we just have to keep explaining it and expanding, because it actually helps like most age groups. So it's beyond young, or kind of like we say, you're as young as you feel. But essentially, it's just connecting Black people. Have any of you guys come to any of our events? If you say no, that's embarrassing on the podcast.
Come on, of course we've been there. I've been to a couple still. I was at the conference.
Oh yeah. Okay, cool.
How's you trying to catch us out on our own podcast, fam?
I don't know,
I'm thinking about to log off. But essentially, okay. Like, so why I started BYP Network reminds me of the current times we're in, because I started it in 2016, like the end of 2016, right when kind of Black Lives Matter and the police brutality thing was happening. And I remember just feeling really frustrated at the time that, I was retweeting onto the timeline, quote tweeting, kind of saying, when will this stop? See all the graphic images and the videos, but feeling quite helpless. Like, okay, cool, I'm like spread awareness somehow, but what now and what next? On top of the fact that, like the workplaces weren't very diverse. I had just come back from America and I met some amazing like Black students and professionals out there. And it was just like, how do we as a community connect around the globe? I know a lot of us, even right now, are feeling like, what can we do? We feel really helpless and really frustrated. But I'm like, there's a lot of us that feel that way. So if we can connect, in the UK and globally, then maybe we can actually make change in our community. Like, I know all three of us are Nigerians. So like, even the problems back home, it gets to us. Even though we're talking about police brutality, there's loads of stuff happening in Nigeria right now, as we know. So it's kind of like, how do we just come together, share ideas, start new businesses, employ people, and just whatever it takes to change the Black narrative. So in that time, what we've done essentially is work to build a platform. So tech is quite difficult, but we finally got there. So like I said, download the app. But also just show everyone that we can be friends and we can be a real community. One thing I found in, just networking events in general is that you come with your titles. So someone will be like, hi, I'm, John, and I'm the MD of this company, and kind of look down on other people if they're not on that level. Whereas with BYP, it's like, actually, we're all friends. It doesn't matter who you are, what you do. Like, come and share ideas and just like, leave your titles at the door. And that's kind of what's got the vibe going of BYP. And I think why we've grown so much, because a lot of people refer their friends. They tell other people about BYP. And even though there are other like networking events or even groups, it just doesn't have that same like family vibe that we have. And then now on top of it, we connect with these organizations. So I kind of see BYP as that bridge between like, these big top corporates and the community. So even now, again, in this current climate, one thing that's transpired is that we need to hold these corporates more accountable. And we need to also ensure that they understand what's going on in the community and how their employees feel. So we're actually launching a bi-weekly newsletter for them specifically. So we already have one for our community, but now it's going to the HR directors, D&I leads, even the CEOs and chairmen that we have in our network. And it's going to be candid in the sense of, this is real stories from our network. This is what's going on. This is how you can support. And that's just like, for me, three and a half years ago, I couldn't do that. When I started BYP and I felt frustrated with police brutality, I couldn't do anything. But I guess to be here in this position now and like, okay, cool, there's some impact we can make. That is the point of BYP. It's literally like to build a community and to make that change.
Okay, cool. Thanks for that. Yeah, we're gonna tap on in more detail later on regarding the police brutality. Now, when BYP first started, it was just an app. Is that correct?
No. So when it first started, it was just events because we wanted an app, but
so you did events first.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I remember I first started using it in 2017.
Yeah. So that was like 1 year later.
Okay, so you did events first. Was it like networking events or what was it?
Yeah. So we did like, it was networking and socializing. So it was kind of like a range of stuff, and every event was different. I feel like you're gonna say something.
No. We'll take that offline.
Yeah, that But yeah, I think that got you.
Yeah, so I guess it was a platform that if BYP has always been a platform to connect black professionals with either other black professionals or opportunities, and you've done it via events and apps as well. I guess in that particular regard.
Like exactly, that's it. Like I think for people who are, I guess, aspiring entrepreneurs, the key thing was I started where I was, which was I could make an event. That's not difficult to do. And then built up the event, built up the mailing list, and then was able to use that money to make the first version of the app. And then, we moved from there.
Yeah. I think it's one of the beauties of BYP is the fact that you have an online and an offline presence. And especially what we're talking about now, like, lockdown and COVID and blah, blah, blah. And like firms which didn't have that infrastructure prior to the lockdown, getting helter skelter and struggling. It's really quite a beautiful thing that the first I heard of it was the BYP app, and I always thought that was a dating app because the person that introduced it to me said that I wanted to try get things or whatever. That's how it was.
No, but it's good you say that. That's actually why. That's why we cut that app. So we cut not cut the app, but we changed it up so that people didn't do that, because it was like we were on there networking. But guys come on it with a different motive. But that's
not just guys, though, because
the guys will come on.
Yeah, no, low-key girls were on it as well. Girls were like,
People were like, well, why don't BYP also just do a dating app? Because obviously there's a market. I completely agree, and that is one of the things and problems in our community. But we can do that later on. For now, let's just build our economic power, and hopefully people can connect for other reasons. And if it needs more, then well done.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So speaking about black professionals, and I guess we'll go into more about BYP later on again. Speaking about black professionals, what do you guys think of the current state of work and jobs in the UK or globally at the moment?
Yeah. So before COVID, I mean, it was already like statistically bad, if that makes sense, for black professionals, as in the stats are they're always so negative. So it's either like it takes 8% more job applications just to even get an interview than your white counterparts, or it says, black people are still more likely to be unemployed 6 months after graduation, or, we earn less straight from graduation, right through our careers. I mean, I can go on because I read the stats all the time. And I think those negative stats in itself does perpetrate kind of a worsening situation where people feel demotivated to apply for jobs or demotivated to even bother. And then one of the other things is obviously when you do get a job, there are the microaggressions that you face. There is the kind of self-doubt or being underestimated. So it's like some people don't even last in jobs, and then trying to find a new job is difficult, or you find a new job and it was worse than your last job. So all of this is obviously sounding very negative, but then it leads to this kind of problem that we have with a lack of black senior leadership. The BYP conference was that, to bring those black leaders to the forefront so that we can see them and we can aspire to those journeys. But I think one thing that we've seen even from them is that it is a difficult journey. You have to kind of keep your head down, you have to fight through, you have to show your worth. And one thing we all know is that black people have to work 10 times harder just to kind of get the same opportunities. And I don't like that. I don't think that's right. I don't feel like, why should we have to be 10 times better just to be on the same level? But obviously, this is right now our current situation. So what it was, the job market, people did have jobs. Some people were in jobs that, it's not the level that they should be at, for example. Or they get a good job, but they don't progress. So promotion doesn't really happen. Or they get pay increases, but they don't get new titles. So fundamentally, that was all part of, again, why BYP was here. It was like, okay, let's understand more about the job market and the current climate and what it is about the black professional community that's struggling. And I think that, a lot of it is to do kind of with what we know about the job market. It's like we need a lot more training in terms of how to even deal with the additional stuff that comes with getting a job, stuff that other communities might not have to worry about. And also, like I said, that confidence element has been a big thing too. So if they don't think you're confident, they're not going to give you those opportunities and whatnot. So yeah, the job market has been tough, I'd say. But I mean, you guys are city professionals, so maybe you can. I'm sure you spoke more on it before, but maybe you guys can share kind of a bit of what your thoughts are to that.
Yeah, for me, in terms of what the job market's like at the moment, in my particular work field of work, some people in my company got made redundant. Fortunately, I wasn't part of those, but I guess that was because a lot of people had to be laid off because of the whole COVID-19 pandemic. Fortunately, I still have my job. So I work in tech consulting, as people know. In terms of what the job market looks like now, we're working remotely, so we're fully remotely at the moment. Our office used to be in Fenchurch Street, and as you can imagine, the lease on them kind of buildings are really expensive on a monthly basis. So our lease actually runs out in July.
Oh wow!
But our business has said, due to everyone working remotely, and there not being a loss of a dip in productivity, we're going to keep working remotely till at least September. That getting a new office isn't priority at the moment because they're seeing that we can still maintain that level of work or excellence even though we're at home. So that's the current state in my particular work. Of course, you go outside, you see that a lot of restaurants, bars, and businesses like laundrettes or hair salons, barbers have been closed. So there's been a loss of work in that particular aspect. I guess it really depends on where you go. I know some people who they had contracts or they signed deals with clients or they signed deals with new companies to work at, and then because of the whole COVID-19, they weren't able to start when they're supposed to start, or they got laid off within 2 or 3 weeks of starting at work, for example. So the job market isn't the greatest it's been. Sam, yeah.
Yeah, I think similar to you guys, like echo you guys, it's tough for a lot of people that have actually signed the contract already. At my particular firm, they've halted their intakes of new grads, and the other aspect as well is like when we're trying to help our youngers or whatever, like our little brothers, little sisters, and they're say their third year of uni, second year of uni, they're wanting to do internships and they're asking for advice. We've never been in this situation before, do you know what I mean? So the things that we would normally advise them about from when we were going through that stage, it's not applicable anymore. So it's about, innovating and trying to find new ways of being of making the most of your time. So I think right now what the job market looks like is trying to upskill yourself as much as you can with online courses. And as well, like another factor which I think our community needs to start thinking about is if you look at even younger people, so like let's say 16, 17-year-olds, a lot of them don't even want to go into like traditional jobs, like so the laws and the accountings and the, you know what I mean, the medicine. A lot of them now want to go into different things. So like let's say social media, or let's say even trading, things like that. So in my different mentoring endeavors and whatnot, I always, try and split my sort of ideas into two. So the uplifting of people that want to go down those traditional routes. So how I can innovate and get us to do better in those spaces, but also how we can look to tap into those new spaces and start creating those role models spaces for young Black kids that want to make money legitimately, but it's just they don't really see the pathway kind of thing. So I think those are the main things that we've got to kind of look at them.
If I talk on like the current state and the future state, so firstly, we know everything is moving online, right? We're online right now, so it was always going to be kind of online work anyway. So I think anyone in our community that is doing kind of retail, is doing like security, is doing office management or anything to do with being offline, like you said, they have to really, really work on upskilling and kind of being part of the digital revolution, because that's what the future is. I've been screaming the future is tech. You guys know that the future is tech. And I think that actually it does give us a great opportunity to progress, because technology, I mean, there's so many free online courses. There's Code for Girls is doing a 6-month camp right now for free for young girls that want to learn to code. So I feel like it's annoying for some people who are not interested in coding, but that is definitely a way. Obviously, there's also entrepreneurship as well. Again, not everybody has to be an entrepreneur, and there is this culture of like, if you're not an entrepreneur, then what are you doing? But I disagree with that. Entrepreneurship is difficult, but I think that if people do want to be an entrepreneur, then they do need that support and that community. And again, there are those options. When we speak to our corporate clients, none of them are hiring right now. Basically, they've all frozen their hiring, or they said maybe towards the end of the year, but still kind of promote and let people know. Even the events, we've got quite a few events coming up with our corporates. So like Facebook Nationwide, and I think Accenture, all of them are doing the event, but they're still saying they're not hiring at the moment. So there is that hiring freeze. People are losing their jobs. And like you said, the younger generation are kind of left bewildered about next steps. And I think it's a weird one where I feel like university students in general are being neglected. Like, I don't even think the government's touched on them. But it is about all of us as a community just upskilling and supporting each other. I think freelancers, personally, I think they got one of the worst as well. Like my cousin is a makeup artist, for example. Like, whose makeup was she able to do in this period? And a lot of them as well, in terms of they have small businesses, but maybe it's not registered, or maybe it's, they're not really declaring like profit. So they weren't able to benefit from any of the government schemes. And Insight actually shows that not many people from our community applied for any of those schemes, or many of those schemes. And they were actually saying, like, what can we do to get more? Like, what's happening? We don't seem to be benefiting the Black community. So again, I think it just comes down to awareness. It comes down to understanding that things will be difficult. So how do you make yourself and your brand the ability to make money? Like, I like to say, people are an expert at something, or you're an expert at yourself. There's something that someone will pay for. So you might even have to do that to make money. So the job market's tough right now, but upskilling really is the key, and there are a lot of jobs in tech.
Yeah, speaking of mental health, we did an episode recently on how to keep your mental health up, or keep your mental health healthy during this COVID-19 pandemic. So if you haven't already tuned into that, I think that was episode 50 with Dr. Fabienne. You guys have both made good points as to the current climate. In terms of what I think will happen in the future is, I think we're going to see a lot more remote working jobs. I think a lot of companies have realized that you don't need to be in the office to remain productive. Before, you used to see a lot of people booking meetings for the sake of booking meetings, or looking for people to be in attendance in the office for the sake of having attendance. But I think some clients now, some companies see now that they can save a lot on their costs on like offices and office space, and get everyone to work remotely. Now, obviously, this isn't going to be the same for every industry. Restaurants, you can't have a virtual restaurant experience, not anytime soon anyway. Maybe BYP are creating that next time. Also, I think but what I'm interested in seeing is, because the government has basically given money for furloughed employees, and have also been giving grants to a lot of businesses. One can only wonder that there's going to be a significant period of austerity after this, where there's going to be a lot of cuts again, like there was when the Tories first came into power, and there's going to be a lot of, not tax, but there's going to be a lot of reduced benefits as a result of being able to implement it. We've already seen the increase in the congestion charge right? So I think a future prediction is that there's going to be a lot more steep prices and a lot of things that we take for granted at this current period in time. What do you guys think?
Yeah, so that's why I guess it's even more sad that our community aren't benefiting that much from the schemes. Furlough is one thing, right? Because the employer kind of benefits in a way. Like, well, actually, both of them benefit, but the employer benefits in terms of they're reimbursed for paying the employee. In terms of the bounce back loan, to be honest, for business owners that can get that, it is a really good loan, and it's a loan that they wouldn't even get if our economy was booming. So actually, it is an opportunity for people to, if you can get BYP, we were able to get that loan, for example, and I've never seen terms like that in my entire life. Like you have,
I heard of one. I heard of one that's not even a loan. I heard of one that's a grant. I went to my local laundrette, and he told me he got 10 grand free.
yeah. So anyone that
Yeah.
had a property, any business that had like a shop front essentially got 10K grant just like that. And again, when does the government ever do that? So I agree,
Yeah.
there is going to be austerity, definitely. Like again, as you said with the charge. However, but I think those that can capitalize now, there is a way to like actually, be able to really invest and flip that money for your business to grow and sustain. So I do think business owners can, make a way that they progress quicker than maybe they would have without it. But I think the people that will lose are the employees that are let go, the freelancers, those that don't get any of these schemes, and just people that literally what can they do after this? Like I don't know if that makes sense. Like they're going to suffer with the increase in pricing. There's not going to be an increase in income, and the government's going to be like, well, we gave out all this money, so we have to get it back. So.
I think there also, I think a group that's not really spoken about as well is people that can like continue the momentum of this like low carbon emissions, because there are quite a lot of talks about, this is the lowest that it's been in a long time. So, any businesses that are
Because people like
existing
you
or
aren't driving
potential
to South London.
startups, but man drive. What are you talking about? Talking to people, but yeah, businesses, startups, or existing companies that can show that, like, look, we're considering this, and people are gonna want to continue to low as it's been as much as they can, kind of thing. So
Yeah.
I think there's an opportunity there for people as well.
Yeah, that's a good point actually.
That's an interesting one though, because do people really care about the climate like that? I
They
think
do. They
you reckon.
do. They honestly do.
The
Maybe after
Olivos
me,
do,
I
boy.
don't know, but they do.
I
Like
think
climate,
people that 100 people that are educated on it, 100% do.
yeah, they
For
really
example,
do.
like
Definitely do.
Sam, you're a well-educated guy, but you drive a diesel ULEZ car.
Wow, that
The
bus
dumb thing,
got
the
thrown
dumb
under
thing is that the
it.
dumb thing is I don't even do that, but that's cool, bro. My car is very petrol, but don't worry about that. But that's the thing. Like I feel like our community, we kind of pick and choose what we choose to be educated in.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a long shot comparison, but like during COVID, there were a lot of tweets and stuff of people saying their mum is putting onion in the corner of the house,
Yeah,
and that
yeah,
people are being forced to drink like pineapple skin and all of that. Like
yeah.
it's not
WhatsApp
really.
University is real, you
Honestly,
know.
it's real. It's real. So people kind of there's no science behind that, but it kind of just becomes the accepted norm. So it's just
Yeah.
picking and choosing what you choose to.
Okay,
And
but
for
I guess
me,
the
it's
key
just
question is, what do you guys think the impact is going to be on our community? Like the Black community in the UK and then globally, like
of COVID.
COVID, everything that's going on right now.
I guess we've already seen that COVID is disproportionately affecting a lot more African Black British people than it is our counterparts. We don't know whether that's because there's something in our DNA or something in our diet that does it, or because of the systematic issues we experience in hospitals. I guess it's a combination of all those different factors. So naturally, our families are going to be impacted a bit more. Also, I think if you look at the kind of jobs we have, it's really difficult to, as you mentioned before, we need 8% more applications than we do for than our white counterparts, right? So I guess when COVID-19 is over and everyone's looking for jobs again, due to that rush, we're going to see a bit more, maybe an increase again in the number of Black people who are unemployed for that particular point in time, because it's already difficult to get into these jobs. And then it's going to be even more difficult because there's going to be a lot more competition, I guess, in that regard. That's just one thing off the top of my head.
Mm.
What about you, Sam?
I think there's a lot more scrutiny on there's going to be a lot more emphasis on, we need to the black community and like protect them in a way, in terms of, we've seen that, you know, they've been so I don't want to be controversial, but they've been so marginalized that, first, on one hand, we're seeing like a disproportionate number of deaths in their community. On the other hand, you're seeing like Black Lives Matter and they're fighting back, and you're seeing they're not having it, kind of thing. And basically, I think that the black community is going to be an agenda item in a lot more high profile meetings than pre-COVID. So when they're talking about, you know, release from lockdown and getting people back into work, they're going to have the caveat of, you know what, black people actually have a voice, and they may just literally stand up and straight up say, no, I'm not coming back. Like, I am not prepared to die. Like, your job is not that deep, kind of thing. You get what I mean? So I feel like that's one of the main things, that's one of the main differences that you will see. Like, you got that NHS England inquiry that's going out, that's being conducted at the moment. Once the results of that are released, you'll get a lot more prominent voices speaking out, and we're going to appear on TV a lot more. We're going to appear in spaces where we didn't prior to this, in my opinion. Just because there's a lot that have all come to the fore at one time. So yeah, I think people are not going to have it, kind of thing.
I feel like you're an optimist.
Yo, what's your opinion, Kike?
It's good. No, it's good. I need that. No,
what do you think?
No, I think that you're right in the sense that I think a lot more of us will be more outspoken, and will kind of really start thinking more about the community, which is, you know, the only thing we could ever wish for, that we actually really turn inwards now and think, okay, guys, this has shown us that, like, not having that higher you know, status or economic status has actually been to our detriment in so many ways. Like, how did COVID impact us the most? Like, we're in the UK, why us, if that makes sense? Like, so actually it's not as simple as being like, okay, we're fine, let me go to my, like, you know, normal job, I get money, so it's calm. It's like, actually the job that you're now doing is putting you most at risk. So everyone's like clapping for NHS and you know, carers, they're at home on their laptops. You know, and as we know, our organisation, well, not ours, but a lot of the top organisations are not that diverse. So some of us that are city workers or that are doing okay, we're not the majority. And I think a lot of us forget that, because your circle does change. I think the majority of us aren't getting those good jobs. They're not where they need to be, and we're the most impacted. So my hope is that we do come together more as a community. I think in terms of the corporate side of things, yeah, I think we will be on the agenda. D&I has been a topic for a long time now, mainly gender. But my concern is that if there isn't that many jobs available, because, you know, like, maybe they just, profits are down, or, you know, people aren't spending much, obviously a lot of people are going to keep being made redundant, and the job roles that open will go to people that know someone. You know, like, I refer this person I know, versus it being externally shown. So the hope is, you know, D&I kind of falls at the wayside when other problems are happening in the company. You know, if their focus now is all about profits, D&I for them kind of falls by the wayside, even though it shouldn't. So I do think it is a time for us to be louder than ever and be more proactive than ever in terms of really all individually investing in the community, and working so that if in another decade there's another pandemic, it doesn't affect us. I think that should be on all of our minds. Like, if in 10 years' time there's another pandemic, there will be no negative news about us. They're not going to be like, oh, we're impacted 4 times more. Like, that can't be the case. So I think, you know, again, that in itself is optimistic, but I think we do need big goals, and then us as a community can be like, if that's all our mission, then we'll actually work to you know, grow as a community.
Cool. That's a very good point. But it is optimistic though, because that means that we would need to be in a position where we can't rely on the UK system. We're in the UK, so we're always gonna have to rely on them to some extent, right?
We will. No, so for example, like, you know, BYP, our view that we can be a bridge, for example, is us still saying that no, we do need them. We need the UK. We need these corporates, and we need to educate them and make sure they're aware of what's going on, and try and get, you know, the coins, the capital from them, and the insights from them, and the help from them for our community. So it isn't just strictly, okay, black community, focus on yourself alone, no help. Allies are super important. Like, we can't even pretend. BYP has grown a lot from allies as well. So allies will still be a big part of it. But again, as a community, we do have to have that mindset of growing the community.
Yeah, Sam, what did you want to say?
I also think that we need to be aware of the fact that some of our allies may be a bit performative. So, so for
Or like PLT.
example, you know, yeah, for example, if we if we switch this into Black Lives Matter, then we need to be aware that like just putting out a tweet and whatnot, while it may have some, it may do something.
It's the bare
The
minimum.
real sort of fight is being able to do it day in day out kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
It goes way beyond like actually caring about the injustice that's done in the black community. It goes beyond just putting out a tweet because you're being pressured to, or because it's good PR, or you're putting on a show for social media kind of thing. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
So while on one hand I do think that we will be a higher priority agenda item, like I said before, I still do agree with you and think that it is a bit optimistic. It is a bit. We do need to bear in mind that there are conflicting priorities. I was speaking to my manager the other day. Well, a director. I do some reverse mentoring with a director at work. So I was speaking to him about how more partners need to genuinely care about wanting more black people in their workforce, because that's the only, it needs to come from a place of genuinity. And he was saying that as a director, from what he's seen, there's just times where literally they have to weigh up their time. They have to weigh up a choice: attending a DNI event, or putting like Vim into a DNI event, or going out and getting this proposal or this client that will mean the difference between like 10 people in their team coming and asking for a promotion and then being able to give it to them or not. So literally sometimes, because the tone from the top is pressure on money and whatnot, and then also the tone from the bottom is that the average Joe doesn't always care. The average Joe just wants their money. They're there to get their promotion or whatnot. They need to weigh that up against like literally having vim for things. So my point is that essentially we just be careful and be skeptical when we see PLT and bloody Olua Jack, whatever his name is, putting out a tweet
it's
saying
crazy
this and
like
that.
that. No, but on just going back to the police brutality side of things and Black Lives Matter, it's crazy how a lot of these companies couldn't even get that right. The bare minimum that we speak of being performative.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Like that does that not say a lot? They
But then would you rather though? Not to play devil's advocate, but would you rather a company just being themselves and be like, you know what, we don't know the kind of message to send.
Yeah,
I think
I'd rather that.
I'd rather a company say
I'd rather that.
we don't know how to, we don't know the right message to send. We're gonna try our best, and we're open to correction, as opposed to let me steal someone else's tweet, which sounds great, and just copy and paste it. I think
it's twofold though, because I do agree that's better, but then again, it makes us realize that they don't have black people in their organization.
It's a symptom, isn't it? It's a symptom of the actual issue.
Exactly. That's it. And I think even that in itself should still allow us to realize, like, one, maybe we should not be supporting that brand, or two, they need to put a serious action plan in place on how they're going to hire, retain, and promote black talent. Like it. Why this again goes back to the blackout day? Like, really and truly, why are we spending our money like this on brands that don't care about us? It's a journey. Like for me, I've always felt this way.
So what PLT, like off the top of your head, what PLT like alternatives do you go to?
That's the thing everyone's been saying,
Other than like Fenty and stuff.
No, on a serious note, there are loads of black businesses that do clothing. Like that. That's what blows my mind about that. People are like,
I got my do-rag from a black business still.
That's what I'm saying. People are like, but what other company is like PLT? Okay, they may not be as big as PLT, but
they're still out there.
Support the small brand. There are so many. So I don't get it. Like we're looking 100%. For the black PLT alone. That doesn't make any sense. So it does frustrate me that a lot of people feel that way. Like, oh well, at the end of the day, like where else can we get our clothes from? Like forget PLT. Literally, like forget. There was already scandal where they weren't even having like black models like that. Or they're not even paying black influencers like that. But how much more does it take? We don't need to beg off some of these brands. Like they literally steal our culture. So for me, again, I hope that this current climate educates people enough to be like, you know what? No, I'm not going to support these brands.
And I think it's even to a point where it's too late for them to even, like, I know you mentioned we need allies and whatnot, but for me, it's got to a point where there's no point wasting energy trying to educate brands or trying to hope that somehow how that, you know, they will suddenly become woke and suddenly realize what the issues are here and actually make the change. Like PLT, I said it on our last episode. Clearly, they have just got a white hand from their thing,
No,
put it
bad
in
guy fam.
Photoshop and click black, and
It's
they just
true.
take the white hand into black.
Where's the
So this
lie?
that's that's a systemic problem kind of thing. So my solution to it is, look, like, let's just focus our energy all on the black businesses, even if, like,
Exactly.
you know, they're a bit worse than the PLTs, then, like, support them. Like, eventually they're gonna start making more revenue, then they can put money into training, and then you learn from experience. They don't have that baseline
Yeah.
where they can learn from things that PLT have had for such a long
Like, this
time.
is key. Sorry to go back to black businesses. I feel like a lot of people
Mm.
share it like, oh, you know, black businesses have bad customer service, the quality isn't the same, they don't have consistent branding. Like a lot of negatives, which I'm not going to say isn't true, but black business don't have the investment that these other businesses have. Like,
And even then, we I think I said it in the last episode. We tend to have a lower threshold of tolerance for black businesses anyway.
yeah,
For example, I'm on YouTube now on my PS4 and it's not working properly, right?
mm,
If that was a black business, I'd be on
that's
Twitter
it.
attacking them the whole way through.
I
I've
completely
tried to
agree.
go on my PS4, tried to go on YouTube, I tried to log into my account, and all I'm seeing is a black screen, right? And I'm talking to you guys about it. And I'm gonna try again a bit more to do it. Whereas if it's a black business, we go on Twitter or we go on
That's
social
it.
media straight away, give them a
Yeah.
bad review. And I think there's a bit of self hate in that particular regard.
I completely agree. There is something, but it's more than that. It's something like a lot of people don't want to see a lot of black businesses prosper for some unknown reason, which is really sad. So for them, it's like that one opportunity of like, see, I knew it wasn't going to be good, you know, like before anything has even happened.
I
I
think it's a bit of
remember
competition as well, isn't it? Maybe.
it's like competition, no, but the problem is, it's not, again, it's not our fault. This has been systems in place to make us feel like there's only one room for one person at the top. Like that is a sad reality. But I look around. I'm in the entrepreneurship space. Like they've given out 13 billion pounds worth of investment in 1 year to white businesses. They didn't say, oh, you know what, only one business gets that 13 billion because only one business will succeed. No, they're putting their money everywhere in every white company they could think of just for having one idea. So like we need to stop thinking that only one business can thrive because that's not true. A lot of us can thrive. It's not a competition like that. There's how many people in the world, billions of us, that can be your consumers. So I think that's part of the problem, and I just think that like I'm just so passionate about this stuff because I just feel like we need to
100.
take our money and stick it in the black community. We've got so much
Mm-hmm.
wealth, and we're not represented in none of these models, none of these brands. They don't care about us. They consistently offend us, but we consistently spend with them anyway, and they can do it because they know we're going to come back, and they know that our rage doesn't last.
Yeah.
Speaking of spending money, I saw that I think a few weeks ago, BYP raised some money.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk to us about that? What you raised your money for? You know how much you raised?
Yeah, so we've raised I think over £12,000 now. The target was 10, but actually it's still open in the sense of anyone can still put money towards it. And with this current climate, we've actually received more money. Essentially, it's back to COVID-19. Straight away, news again was all about black or BAME people dying more disproportionately. A lot of the fact that we are the ones that are the NHS workers, the carers, the cleaners, the bus drivers, and we're the ones that are most exposed. And I was just feeling really like frustrated and sad about it all. Like, why is this the stats? Why is it us again that's getting impacted by this? And so essentially, that fund was like, we're going to raise money so that if someone wants to make the decision not to go into work for that week or 2 weeks, they can. You know, that was essentially the mindset. Like, we know that they're dying because they have to go to work because they need money. But maybe that actually, if there's a way we can support them, they might not go in. I know it's not forever because we can't support them forever, but even just that 2 week period or 1 month or help them with their shopping or their rent, just something that can kind of stop them from going in, that would make that impact. So we raised that amount of money. Initially, it was for about 40 families, up to 40 families, which again, I know it's not enough. But it was between £250 to £500 tickets so that it can actually make an impact in those families. But we had something like 220 plus applications. We were only able to give it to like I said, like less than 40 people. And so it's still open, and I think that there is something there that we do need to promote it more and like actually just go big on the target. But it's really sad. Like even though we've done that and we know we've impacted people, we've got testimonials and and all that stuff. It's like the reality is just it's so much bigger, you know.
And it's such a shame that has to come from within. Do you know what I mean? It's a great initiative that you have, but do you not think that that's the with the government or whatever.
I mean, the government's not going to do that. They're telling us that we need to go out and clap for the NHS and clap for the carers. Like that in itself tells you all we need to know. They're telling us, tell them, well done, go to work whilst we're at home on our laptops. Like it doesn't even make any sense. They, right at the start of COVID, they did not increase NHS staff salaries, but they gave themselves 10k expenses for the whole MP. Come on, man. We just saw Dominic Cummings. Like, what is that? So I think the key thing is we, again, as a community, just have to understand that all we got is us, and again, back to the allies or whatever, maybe some people, but we truly have to just, again, focus on developing as a community and doing what we can. I mean, that fundraise, I'm sure, if a big celebrity like tweeted it or something, it could get 100k, right? Like, that we put money in our community at the end of the day. It's just not, it's misplaced. So
have you experienced any like bad mind in our community? Like people like, who's this girl think she is, fam? Like she's
of course.
Of course. Like what?
Yeah, that can never get to me though. I mean, just different things. I mean, one on senior leadership level. So I've actually been recommended, let's say, from a white person to be like, oh, you should speak to this black person who's this senior leader. One of them who was very high up was just like, I don't believe in, segmenting the black community. Like why would you do that? We're all just humans. I think you're just a pretty little girl riding on the wave. That's literally I will never forget that statement because I was like, one, don't comment on my beauty, bruv. Like, how old are you? And two, like, move from me, man. You're the part of the problem. That's literally the first, like, I was just like, you're part of the problem. And that one, I just didn't even bother. And that was super senior. Then there was another senior person who was just like, oh, I think women initiatives are enough. You don't need to focus on black too. And then on a community level, I've had just other little petty things. Like, I remember it took us like a day to reply to an email, like someone's application. And then they were like, oh, you can't reply to my email, but you can go and get awards and you can go and be on press. We died. We were just like, come and see. One day, come and see. Hey, that's your true intention. Move from us. So we get little nagging things, but honestly, you expect that stuff, and that
you're always gonna get that. You're always gonna get that.
You can only. I laugh at them. I'm just like, all right, you stay there. Like, let us just keep growing.
But what's our solution for that though? How do we get? We can't just accept that. It's always gonna happen. Like, how do we get past?
Well, this is it. This is what we can only be the change we want to see. Right? This is it. Like, nothing I can do is going to change that guy's perspective.
No more popping champagne on stage.
Exactly. See, I'm glad you know it. Like, but this is what I'm saying. Like, only we can do that change. Like, we know that our year group, we go to Nigeria in December and we splash in terms of the club. We splash in terms of just let's show face, let's show out here. But
is that what you're saying? Is that what you're saying? Yeah.
I'm not indirecting in it. Like, I'm just saying that's what we do. And I've done it too. Let me not even like try front. But
I'm doing it this year again.
But for me, I remember even when I went and that happened, I actually had a moment of reflection of like, rah, this is, Lecky or whatever, but look at what's going on mainland. Look at like this little 5-year-old asking me for money. Like the poverty is around us, but we come as a diaspora to Africa, like, yo, look at us, we've made it. And so that in itself is a whole separate thing. But my point is the change starts with us. It's just that simple. Like, it is what it is with some of those people, cool, but it's for us to reflect and see what we can do to make a difference. Like I said, none of that ever bothers me. If someone is going to hate on someone else's business, they need to take time and ask themselves, why are you hating on that person? Or maybe they need to be called out by a friend. They might tell a friend, oh, who do they think they are? That friend could be like, I think they're doing really well. Like, why do you have a problem with them? Like, maybe you need to check yourself. So it's just a thing that, again, it's systems. There's a reason people hate, because it's like we all are trying to do better, and it's not easy to do better. So when you see someone else doing better, you're like, what makes that person so special? But not everybody thinks that way. A lot of the BYP community actually are so supportive because they understand that BYP is about helping them. So if you understand that, you can't be jealous of me, because everything I win gets back into the BYP network. It's just that simple. And a lot of our members do understand that.
Yeah, what I was gonna say was, that's great. And it's good to see that I've realized a lot of people just can't be happy in general. You want someone to invest in the community, they invest in the community. Oh, but it's not enough. You're not replying. They reply and they invest, and then it's something else. The goalposts always move.
Yeah.
So that's great in terms of the fundraising. That's great. How else are you guys helping people out during COVID-19?
Yeah. So we've been so high on content, as in like all the time. Like if you check our social feeds, we're just always posting something. Like blogs have like doubled. A lot of blogs again on like mental wellness, staying productive. skills that they can learn. We put out like all different free courses that are available online. We've got some events lined up. So like one of them, we partner with CogX. They're doing a leadership summit for 2 days, June 8th to the 10th, where it is literally like all things leadership. Like, like everyone should sign up to that, because you get access to over 4,000 leaders around the world learning about how to get the next 10 years right. So it's kind of like, if you think BYP Network Leadership Conference, right? But that was just for the Black community. This is for like anyone, but normally we wouldn't get access to this. So for me, that's a way for us again to learn, what are these leaders talking about? What is the direction of business for the future? We've got an event with Facebook coming up as well, which is for like anyone that's looking to get hired there, recruiters, HR and D&I people. So just again to shape how we can hire better, more Black people and stuff like that, and kind of to dictate that message. So kind of what you said, Sam, like getting that message back on board. So this event's quite cool because we've got these decision makers, all in one event. And then again, one with Nationwide about building resilience and life beyond COVID. So again, it's directly how us as a community can move forward. And they're talking about, property, like what, in terms of property market, career, finance. I mean, they're the second biggest mortgage providers. So like, again, that's all about adding value to the community. Another thing that we're doing is Blackout Day. So that's my pug. I
at least you heard that one this time,
I just said dog, no in the earring before he's like, oh, pug. So I was going to say, yes, we've got Blackout Day, which is essentially, it's a US-based initiative where on one day, on July 7th, nobody spends outside of the community. Obviously, as soon as I saw this, I'm like, yes. I would like for it to be a whole year personally, but we let's start small. But we've changed it where it's like, actually, it's not just about not spending any money. Let's do it all about spending on the community, like Black businesses, Black initiatives, Black crowd funds, Black charities. So it's going to be a day where we're going to promote to people to save the day and sign up, and we're going to offer like webinars. We're going to partner with as many Black networks and communities as possible, and like we want this to be a serious day where it is known that the Black community are not spending money outside of that community, and it'll be amazing to just see if that actually has an impact, and if it breathes something in us that makes us kind of consistent with that, as Black people. And yeah, just in general, again, just loads of webinars, loads of content. Our app is still there, so please download the new app or sign up online for you guys to connect with anyone. There are still job opportunities for people to apply for those companies that are hiring. And yeah, just in general, we're here for moral support, man. I'm always tweeting something because like times are hard, man.
I love that. And also I saw like a couple of weeks ago, you guys have got a beautiful link up with There's No Signal. So I was gonna ask as well. Yeah, I was gonna ask as well, like when you're not necessarily seeking your sponsorships, but when you're, agreeing sponsorships, do you actively look for companies that, care about the cause kind of thing? Or is it more about, for example, Nationwide, they provide a different value, like they are second best in class at what they do, and it will be good for Black people to have that knowledge. But if like any sponsors are watching this now, what kind of values would you want them to have?
Yeah, it's a good question. So there's two folds. There's the big corporates, right? So like, the Facebook, the Nationwide, etc. What allows us to work with them is like we do have extensive talks with their like D&I team and whoever is like the main lead on that, about what they're trying to change and the impact they're trying to make and what jobs they have available to the community. I think the interesting thing about Facebook is that their outside brand is not very like strong in terms of positive news. Obviously, there's a strong company. And with BYP, it's like, well, how do we like understand this is what you've told us? How do we let the community understand that? How do we showcase that side of Facebook? And that's why one thing that we're doing now that I mentioned is that bi-weekly newsletter to all these corporates, because I realize that actually it's deeper than that now. They need to really understand what we're going through as a community and hear our voices. And we now, as a company, need to hold them more to account. That's one thing I've definitely got out of this period. It's like we're working with them. People are getting jobs. People, are loving the events that they're hosting for us. But actually, we need to make sure that it is not a tick box exercise, and we need to do that by taking more accountability. So that's something that we've learned, and that's something that we're now doing going forward. And when I mean accountability, like right now, we should have a statement from a lot of these companies just saying what they're doing to support their Black employees, or the fact that they stand in solidarity with those that are struggling. Of course, that's difficult because these are global companies, right? But at least the UK head can say something, or someone senior can say something. And I think that even though it's quite a big ask and a big mission for BYP to do that, but I think that could be really strong if we are able to actually be that bridge between companies and our community for real change and accountability.
That's an interesting one because I agree, and then also I am a bit. I also disagree a bit on that. Because the reason I agree is because, of course, this is a bare minimum. A company say what they do for black people, especially when that's the most topical discussion at this point of time, goes a long way,
Yeah.
right? And then, for example, if you can tweet 364 times of the year about nonsense, and then the one day is about Black Lives Matter, you can't tweet. That to me raises some eyebrows. However, also one could also argue that tweeting isn't a be or end all. I remember one person, for example, got on to J. Cole for not tweeting. And he was busy in March.
I wasn't saying tweeting though. I wasn't going to say like expect these companies to tweet.
Making a statement. Okay, so
yeah.
What do you think? Okay, so maybe I thought you meant literally make a statement. But I guess you can make a statement also.
Like an email, an open letter, an email to employees. Like after when Airbnb they let go of a lot of employees. I can't remember, maybe 6,000 employees. They did an open letter that was very descriptive of what they sent out to everyone, and they let us understand exactly how they let everyone go. Whereas Bird fired everyone on a Zoom chat. They got 400 people in one Zoom chat and said, "Hey, it's all over," and then that was leaked to the press. So look at those. Do you see those two different ways of dealing with a situation? So you're right. A company might come out and say something, and we're like, "That's not enough." Maybe put some money towards it too. That does add value. So I know YouTube did added £1 million. Glossier did 500k. I'm shocked by that. Where some don't even say anything, or whatever they said, they should never have said it. I think it makes a difference. Silence is deafening. We have to admit it. Even though people getting onto these, Twitter heads that are like, "Hey, why hasn't this person said anything? Why?" It's because the silence is deafening and it does hurt. So even me in the entrepreneurship world, I'm looking at some venture capitalists and I'm like, I'm not hearing a single word from you guys. You guys preach diversity inclusion. In fact, your funds are very high on diversity inclusion. So I don't understand why I can't hear anything. So I do think that the minimum is that show that you're with us as a minimum. And one of our employees, Marae, she put out 10 steps of how to be a strong ally or non-optical ally, which got tens of thousands of retweets because so many people are okay, what can I do to support? And it might seem annoying, why do we have to do that? But sometimes you just have to let them know, this is what we expect,
What are they? In those 10 steps? And do you have any off the top of your head? Which?
No, I don't have them off the top of my head, man.
I got.
It's in our blog, but I don't have it off the top of my head.
Yeah. Check the blog. No worries. No worries. So my two quick questions, Kicks, are so one, how do you appeal to the normal average white person who doesn't have a position of power, but to make a wide scale change, we do need just average Joes to take an interest. So how do we appeal to them? BYP, for example, how would you sell it to them as something that they should care about? And also, have you ever experienced anyone thinking that you do the most, speaking about black issues all the time is too much, or they may even think you're racist because you're pro-black kind of thing?
Okay, that's a really good question. So the first one, it's a really good question in the sense that people are split with this view. Some people feel why should I spend my time educating people that should already know? Or I need to choose my battle. I need to choose how to protect myself. So one example of that is, let's say someone says something silly in the workplace about black people that might be a bit racist or at least a bit of a microaggression. Someone might say I'm just not even going to bother, whatever, let me ignore it. Where someone else might be like, hey, Bob, that was actually really offensive, and then have to deal with what that repercussion could be of either they listen or they obviously go on I wasn't racist, I'm not racist, and then you've kind of got yourself into a battle. I've even experienced it. Once I had to call out a woman who posted something very offensive in a group chat. I called her out separately about you shouldn't do that. That's really offensive. She went on a long tirade of it's not offensive. How can it be when I lived with these people in the jungle? It was a bit mad. It was a bit mad. And again, calmly was explaining to her calmly, but she was very in her own adamant way of thinking it wasn't offensive, and then apparently I was attacking her. So, and obviously I wasn't, and that was me kind of thinking, all right, I'm going to take on this battle because I think she should understand that that wasn't okay. But sometimes that's just not it. So I think you do need to choose your battles, or maybe it's like you tell them, and if they're not responsive, you know, you choose whether to walk away at that point and just be like, you know what, cool, that's not someone I want to deal with, or I need to take it further somehow by like snitching on them to the manager, whatever it needs to be. Yeah, snitching is okay sometimes.
Yeah. I've had to put guys in a place at work still.
Well, there we go, exactly.
Yeah. What was I going to say? Quickly. So for those people who have been furloughed or who've been made redundant, what kind of tips do you...
Sam had one more question.
Oh, do you have one more? Okay, go. Yeah.
Your question was about people like whether like you talk too much about black issues.
You're doing the most. Yeah.
I think that I'm fortunate enough to have a business which is literally says black in its name. So if you talk to me, you know what you're gonna get. Like, and I think for me, it's better because at least they know it's genuine. Because I guess if I'm never talking about it, it's like this girl runs why? I don't even get a vibe from her. But because I actually do care, it is what I talk about a lot. But it's true, as a black person in the workplace, like how much black can you bring up or can you talk about? I think it really depends on you as a person, right? Like, are you bothered that people are just like, oh, he only likes black people, he's racist? Or maybe it's a case of you putting them all in a meeting and be like, all right, guys, like, all right, I heard this. Let's have a candid conversation about race. It's a safe space, you know, Chatham House rules. Nothing leaves this place. Like, let's talk about it and let's actually get to the bottom. And I think that's quite effective. I'm someone who I'm pro that because I've done it before where I've been in a room with just white people and I'm like, all right, Chatham House rules, let's have a conversation. What's going on? And you know, one guy was just like, you know, I feel like with coloured people, and the thing about that, straight away it's ready to get offended, right? But this, he doesn't know what to say. But we've already agreed that this is a safe space, so I can now educate him. He's open to being educated. So I think to me that's actually the solution. Like, if you want to have a conversation with someone, have it with people who are open to hear it and hoping to have a conversation. If they're not, forget about it. That's what I think is the best thing. And if people think you talk too much on black issues, then bye. You know, we've got a lot of issues in it.
Yeah, that's like when I wore. That's like I think I said this in the previous podcast. When I wore a nice suit to a client, because he hadn't seen a black guy in a suit before. He said, you know, have we just gone to court? Because in his mindset, all he's been used to is people wearing suit. I'm wearing a nice navy suit. You don't wear navy. You don't wear navy to court. You wear black to court, for example, right? On TV, for example, yeah. So I was like to him, bro, you got to mind how you talk, innit? And then he DM'd me saying, yo, I didn't mean any offense. And I was like, you know what, yeah. You just got to be careful about the kind of jokes you make. And that's a guy who he's white privileged to the core, right? But he doesn't know any better.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to explain to him, listen, that's offensive because not everyone who's black goes to court.
Yeah.
For example, not everyone, you know, people who can be black and still work on 6-8 figure deals with clients, and that's why they're wearing a suit, not because they're about to make a statement to the jury or judge. And I guess the question I was going to ask you is it offensive if there's no intent to be offensive?
It's still offensive. It's still offensive. 100%.
That's what he was asking me, innit? I was like to him, yeah, because just because that's what I said to him as well. I was like, yeah, it's still offensive, even though you didn't mean it.
Yeah.
But I guess you meaning it allows us to have a bridge where we can have a conversation, and you can't do it again to offend other people in place.
Yeah.
Because I know you don't mean it. This time it's different, right?
Yeah.
Because I know you don't mean it, it's different. Whereas if you now go ahead and do it again, that's when it becomes more of a problem. Now that you know it.
Yeah, I just feel like the naivety card doesn't always work, you know, because like that's still assumption you've made. You've said it directly. You could have just been like, "Oh, nice suit. Are you off to what? Are you off to somewhere?"
True.
You didn't have to come with. You didn't have to tell me where I was coming from. So I get it. Like he didn't realize it was that. He just assumed that is all black people. But does that not show how just narrow-minded he is as a person to just think every black person must be coming from court? So I think that no, we can't accept that card of like, oh, I didn't know.
Oh yeah, of course. That's obviously, of course, didn't do it.
Yeah, I know you didn't anyway, but
that's why
no one can.
That's why I gave him a mixtape, put him on blast. Sam, did you want to add to that?
No, I completely agree with what you lot are saying as well. Like another thing that again with my reverse mentor, he was saying that because my firm is a firm of consultants, innit? So the people at the top, they see themselves as provers. So this issue with like a lack of diversity, a lack of black partners, blah blah blah, they see it as a problem. But in my firm, they feel like they see themselves as the best in it, so they're like, there's no problem they can't solve. But then this issue, they just don't know how to solve it. Like they don't know how to they don't even know how to like relate to the average Joe, the average black person. Do you get what I mean? So because of that, it creates uncomfortability where they can't even say the word. They can't even say black. They're doing they're doing Zanku just to flipping. You're doing people of color. You're doing all this stuff. So, honestly, every name but black. So like I'm black kind of thing. So honestly, we just need to come up with initiatives that just first of all like scatter that BAME word, people of color, and then we need to.
That's why BYP is black. We went straight to the word black. Like back then, I didn't go to BAME.
That's it.
And I knew why. I knew that was a black problem.
100. What's the end goal for BYP?
So a lot of things I tend to say is that in 10 years' time, BYP network shouldn't actually exist because we've solved the problems, right? Like all the problems that we have in this world of them seeing us and having a negative stereotype should be solved. So that's a hope and the dream. But the truth is with BYP, it's about economic power too, right? So like in 10 years' time, like I said, if a pandemic happens, we shouldn't be in this position because actually they can't say, oh, it's because of socioeconomic deprivation, oh, it's because of bad health. Like they shouldn't be able to say that because actually we're all prospering or thriving or learning as a community as one. More black businesses, obviously, to like grow and prosper. More black people spending within the community. More black senior leaders. That's why we did the conference last year, and it was focused on leadership. Our podcast focused on leadership. Everything that I try and do is focus on leadership because I think that we have a real problem where there isn't enough leaders in our community. And I'm not even just talking about corporations. I'm talking about community too. Like and politics. Like again, I haven't seen a single black person on the daily briefing. I don't know, maybe you have, but I haven't seen any. That in itself speaks volumes. So we have a real leadership problem, and that's why like BYP. I remember our initial like saying was like to connect future leaders. Like, and the reason why that was the wording was it's like no, like it's a different type of people we're looking for. Like with the mindset of I can be a future leader, but you might not know how to be one right now because it's not that simple. But let's give you guys the tools and all the things that you need to become the leaders of tomorrow. And that also starts with a network. Like the network side of things is that I should, in a few years' time, I should be able to holler at Ira and be like, yo, I'm looking to get a job where you're working. Like, can you bring me in? And he should be able to happily because he knows me. You can do it now, but I'm talking about even a senior leader position, like like COO in it of like whatever institution. It should be okay. Let me just get 20 years time, right, where people should be C-suite, like of these organizations or of your own companies. I should be able to have that link. Like, oh, one of my friends, he'll give us that deal. Like, that's what they do. So why should we not be able to do it? In 20 years' time, I can't be looking at you guys in a skeptical way, like, oh, I don't trust him. Maybe he's going to try to scam me. Like, that should not be, because that is a mindset within our own community too, where the trust 100%. Isn't there. So BYP as a network is there to actually build that relationship. Like, in 3.5 years, I've got so many new, like, friends or just peers that I never had before who are all doing very well because I've been able to build that network through BYP. And that's the aim for everyone within the community, like to connect with each other for genuine reasons. And yeah, just to be like a £1 billion company, right? You guys been saying it, you know, let me not lie. Let's be that £1 billion company where we can buy other black businesses, where we have a charity arm that's investing in black causes. Like everything about BYP is to invest in the black community. So we're doing it now, but we intend to do it, you know, 100, 1,000x in the future. So yeah.
Yeah, that's great. You know, that's great. It's all about getting back to the community. That's what we try to do here, this podcast as well. Not just about, you know, we're blessed enough to be where we are now. We're blessed enough to have the knowledge and insight we have now. It's all about spreading that as well to our community and allowing other people to elevate. You know, it's lonely at the top. It's all about bringing other people at the top with you. In that regard, so we really appreciate that. Where can we? Before we go, of course, we spoke about people being furloughed and redundant. And I was going to say, quick tips for those who are still who are at home, who aren't working. You can use this time not just to chill, but you can use this time to build more skills. Think about the industry you want to be in, or think about the boss's job. I think about the skills he's had, and you know you can build that roadmap as to where he was and what he did to get there, and then you can start going on that particular path. What other tips did you have for people who are redundant or furloughing at the moment?
So those who are furloughed, like you're getting paid to be at home right now. So
to do nothing.
yeah, so be thankful for that. Firstly, like, cool, I got that. But don't use it as I don't have to do anything because I've got money coming in anyway. Use it as a way to diversify your income stream. Like, everybody knows, like, the way to get rich is having 7 different income streams. Like, if you haven't read Rich Dad Poor Dad yet, I don't know. So, like, really and truly think about how you can make more money. So whether it's you're freelancing at another company or a small business, you're doing some sort of online course, you're putting out an online course, you're something that I saw that was quite cool from someone was they were offering like consultation on like how to get into tech, for example, and like 30 minutes was free, and then the next bit is £50. People are paying because people are trying to understand how to get in. So, like, the knowledge you have, how do you capitalize it? How do you make money from it? And then obviously again, volunteer. If anything, go and volunteer. Like, there's loads of businesses right now that can't afford to hire staff. Maybe volunteer for them for free.
Exactly, and with volunteering, that's sick because you're getting paid at your old job and you're volunteering that, so you're going to learn about a new industry or about a new system of working, and you get to learn new skills while doing that. So that's also quite good as well.
Yeah.
And all I'll add to that as well is just keep developing your personal brand. Like, let's say you've been furloughed and you're lucky enough to, have savings or whatever, then maybe take a step back and think that this job, is it really in line with my personal brand? Am I able to maybe look on the job market, see what's there, and see if I can work for a company or do a particular role that adds to me? Because at the end of the day, the end goal should be bring as close to what you are at home to work. I know, obviously, just bearing in mind that there's some aspects of you at home that are not appropriate for work, but as close as is appropriate should be what you're aiming to bring to work still.
And yeah, obviously, it's not by force. Obviously, like, relax, enjoy yourself at the same time, but take this time to mentally clear your head of any stress. But at the same time, bear in mind that lockdown will end eventually, and you don't want it to be a thing where you're worse off than your other counterparts who have been upskilling themselves, who have been building new habits.
Yeah, and I've got two more quick things to add. One, in this period, for example, I've been learning Yoruba, which is obviously a Nigerian language, and that was just random because it was like, you know what, I got extra time. It would be good to learn Mandarin. I was like, why am I learning Mandarin? I don't know my own language. So then that's where it started. And then there's like a little group of us that are doing it like 3 times a week for 2 hours. We've got a teacher and everything. And that was just because I'm like, I want to learn it. So same thing for other people. It might not be something specific towards your professional development, but it might be something of interest that you haven't had time to do. So now's the time to do it. And then secondly, for people who have a business already and they've always had this side hustle or side business, I think this is really the time to really double down on their businesses. Because it's like that could be your way out of working. A lot of these people didn't even like their jobs before they were furloughed or redundant. Let's be honest. So now's your chance to actually try and find that way out. Like I said, with BYP, I'm full time. Been full time for 2 years, but I was working alongside initially until it got to a place where I didn't have to. And I feel like that's everyone's minimum goal as an entrepreneur.
100%.
And you want to then grow it. So it doesn't have to be a side hustle forever.
Cool. And again, if you're not someone who's interested in having your own side hustle, your own business, that's still fine. And focus on where you are now and trying to be the best person you can be at where you are now. Cool. Kike, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Where can we find you?
Thanks for coming on.
It's just Kike Oniwinde on all my social platforms, so like Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and then BYP is just BYP Network again on all the social handles. But they can download the app BYP Network, or they can even just go on our website BYP-network.com, and they can find out more about us. They can log in, sign up, and also attend our events and stuff. So
is it still swiping left or right?
No, I told you we got rid of that. You're like you.
I'm playing.
Coming on in,
I'm playing. No.
Listen, it's not me, man. I'm innocent. I'm good. Nah, I wasn't on it for that purpose. Still, I'm good. But no, honestly, thank you so much, Kike, for coming on. And I know Kike is a wonderful role model. So, and I know her DMs are open. So if there's any like young,
how do you know my DMs are open?
Don't worry. Listen, if there's any aspiring Kikes, that want to follow in your footsteps, I'm sure they can reach out to you.
Yeah, they can. And if they download the BYP Network app, like literally, they can message me on there, and I'm more responsive on there than any other platform.
Would you give yourself a verified tick on there?
No, that's in development. You don't even have that yet.
Come on.
It'll take time.
Love that. Follow me, Sam_Luco, everything. Follow the podcast, My City Podcast on everything. Follow Ire at.
Follow me on Instagram at ire.ae, which is ire.ae. Follow me on Twitter at ireliwa, which is IRAYLIWA. As Sam mentioned, follow the podcast everywhere, My City Podcast. Follow BYP Network. Follow Kike, and keep safe, everyone. Cool.
Take care.
Okay.
Bye.